They all have these gods that they have worshipped because they lived there. And I've had people go back to those times and they say, why do they call us gods? We're just beings. And they were just there to make sure everything was going okay. This was supposed to be a planet, a beautiful, beautiful planet with a species that would never get sick and never grow old. It was supposed to be a perfect species. Maybe that's where the idea of the Garden of Eden came from. I don't know. But it was supposed to be a perfect species. And they said, give this beautiful people intelligence and free will and see what they do with it. Many planets in the universes don't have free will. I've had people go to those planets, and it's a totally different way of living if you don't have free will. Some of them are really glad to get out of that life because they're not at all what you think. But free will is very important. So they said we cannot ever go against the free will. So they give us free will. That's what was supposed to happen. We were never supposed to grow old. We were never supposed to die. We were never supposed to get sick. But something happened that spoiled the plan. A meteorite hit the Earth. And when the meteorite hit the Earth, it brought in bacteria for the first time that created disease. Before that, there wasn't anything. And they were heartbroken. There was a show on Nova years ago where they were talking about the different kinds of life on Earth. They said there's two kinds of life on Earth: bacteria and everything else. That the bacteria was the foreign element. It didn't belong. And this is what created disease. But when this happened, they said, what are we going to do now? They went back to the councils and they had the meetings, and there was great sadness in the councils. It was like, well, what do? Do we wipe the whole thing out and start all over again? Or do we let it continue to develop the way it is, knowing it will never be the perfect people we expected it to be? It was decided that so much work had been done to allow it to continue to develop, even though they knew it would never be perfect. Now, see, a lot of this I think you would go along with if I do UFO lectures on why they're doing the experimentations with the sperms and the ova and all of that. They are bringing us back to the perfect state we are supposed to be. You understand all of these things, there's no negativity in what any of them are doing. They've been taking care of us since the beginning of time. One time they said in one of those sessions, why do people keep saying we're here to take over the world? It's ours, it always has been. We can't do anything to you as bad as you do to yourself. So they've been watching us all this time and taking care of us. And as they lived with the people, they were given these different inventions and things as the time was right. Fire, agriculture. When the species got to that point, they would give them the next invention. Of course, now it's got to the point they can't live among us anymore. There's too many people. So now when the next invention is supposed to be developed, it's put into the atmosphere. They don't care who invents it as long as it is invented in the timeline. And you know, you always hear about people all over the world are all working on the same invention at the same time. This is why. They put it out there. Whoever gets it, that's fine with them. That's the way they're doing it now. But I asked them one time, I said, okay. They said, you have free will. And then the prime directive of Star Trek is very, very real. Non-interference. You cannot interfere with a developing species. So I said, all right, you're coming and giving these things to the people. Isn't that interference? They said, no, that's a gift that we give them when the time is right. What they do with it is up to them. And a lot of times they don't use it the way we wanted them to use it. They'll turn it into a weapon or they'll use it in a negative way. But it was intended for good. So it gets to that point, they give you a gift. And I said, well, can't you come back and tell them you're not doing it right? It was not what it was intended for. He said, that is interference. Give it to you once and see what you do with it. If you don't use it in the right way, then nothing they can do about it, because that would be interfering. So many times they sit there and shake their head. They said, for goodness sake, why are you doing this for? We give it to you for a good reason, and you're turning around and using it like this. This is important for you to know so you can understand the 3 waves. Anything that is supposed to be developed will be developed in the proper time, because they know when the civilization needs the next information, the next invention, the next step up the ladder. Well, if you understand, they've been watching us since the beginning and taking care of us. When we dropped the bomb, the atomic bomb, at the end of World War II, that really got their attention. They've been watching us all during the war. See, they can't stop the wars. They can't stop everything we're doing. They're just watching. They're watching us all during the war. Well, here at the end of the war, we developed atomic power. And what do we do with it? We go and make a bomb. That got their attention. They said, we better get down there and see what these kids are up to. And they were very unhappy about it, because it was not supposed to be in our timeline yet. When it was time for it to be developed, it was supposed to be developed for peace, for energy, for electricity. It was not supposed to be used for a weapon. But once you create something for negativity, it has that, what we call aura of negativity around it, and it will never really be what it was supposed to be. But they said they're really worried about it, because they said these kids don't know what they're playing around with. Because they just came through this horrible war. They can't take care of themselves. They have no idea what they're doing. Now they bring up atomic power. They can destroy the world. They have no idea what they're working with. I left a piece out there. It's going to come back to me, though. Okay. I have all this information flooding into my head, and you have no idea the energy that's coming off the audience, too. That's the reason I sit down. I'm a smaller target that way. Okay. Okay. But, you see, humans have been on Earth for so long, making the same mistakes over and over and over. We're caught on the wheel of karma, and they know this. They said you can't even figure out your own lives. You got the country in a mess. You just came through this war, because people go through the same lives over and over again, making the same mistakes. The karma over and over and over. They don't learn. They got to keep coming back to do it over again. If Jesus came to save us from anything, what I found out was he came to save us from the wheel of karma, because we were just going round and around and around, making the same mistakes instead of moving up the ladder. And he was to show us how to live through love, but people didn't understand it, and they killed him. So here we're going, life after life after life, going round and around, making the same mistakes over and over again with the same people. They said these kids can't even take care of their own lives. They can't take care of the world. They're never going to be able to understand atomic power. They will blow up the world. Now, the law of non-interference just goes so far. They are not allowed to interfere unless we get to the point we could destroy the world. If that were to happen, it would cause reverberations throughout the whole solar system and into other parts of the galaxy. You have no idea what it would do if this little planet, we're isolated over here on purpose. We're a young planet.